War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to Bleav in Everything Auburn, which is brought to you, as always, by Bet Online, which continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, Bet Online provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, the NBA, college basketball, NHL to UFC. Head to Bet Online today and don't forget to use promo code Bleav for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. That is BLEAV. Bet Online. The game starts here. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to Bleav in Everything Auburn. Taylor Davis and Jason Campbell with you as always. We said it was going to happen quickly, guys, and it did. The Auburn football season has come to a close, wrapping up the regular season in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. Unfortunately, with an L and not bowl eligible, so the Tigers season is complete. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about signing day, which just wrapped up this week as the Tigers bring in some pretty exciting future players and what's going on around the country with the playoff ranking continuing to spark debate and controversy. And we are a couple days away from conference championship games and then the final playoff ranking, which will set up the first ever expanded 12-team playoff. So a lot going on, a lot to talk about. It's a busy time of year. December is always pretty wild, and we knew that for this Auburn coaching staff, it was going to start pretty quickly with signing day needing to be dang near a home run, and they certainly feel good about it. Hugh Freeze talked about it, but before we get into the future, let's close out this season, Jay. An unfortunate one down in Tuscaloosa. You were down there as the Tigers fell to the Tide 28-14, marking the fourth consecutive losing season for Auburn. What did you see down in Tuscaloosa? What ultimately got the Tigers their final loss of the year?
Whew. Well, I tell you what, pulling up to that stadium and on that campus and just kind of, it was so cold. And it was so cold. I was just like,
I believe you.
I had to walk a good little bit and their fans just chirping. When I entered the stadium, Taylor, it didn't have the feel of the Iron Bowl. So it's almost like we was just getting ready to play another SEC game.
Yeah.
And so when Auburn got there and everything, and I think a lot of this has to do with we haven't beaten them in the last couple of years, right? Like we was on the edge 2021,
Yeah.
then 2023 we had a shot 4th and 31, we didn't get it,
Yeah.
and so they kind of been winning of late against us really good. From the early 2000s, we was leading the series I think up to like 2019 or something, and then it's changed
Dang.
as far as win losses since 2000, but we've got to start back winning this football game.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to start back putting the emphasis into what this game means. And what I say that is we come out in the first half. Yes, we're in scoring territory 4 times, and we only have 6 points to show for it.
Mm.
You know, like you're on the half-inch yard line and you can't get it in.
Mm-hmm.
You missed the first field goal of the game that could have set the tone. You know, all these things that give you an opportunity when you go on the road, you have to do these little things to win games,
Yeah.
and it's not happening. And when you come out in the second half and Alabama come out with a different punch than you do, like that's something like, okay, something's got to change as
Right.
far as like mindset, you know, whether some personnel stuff we got to do differently to make sure that we're getting the right type of guys that understand what this rivalry means.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of shows you a little bit, okay, we gotta get bigger in some places. We gotta get stronger because Alabama
Yeah.
came out in the second half and they dominated the line of scrimmage for the most part. Like they scored the first 2 drives of the second half. They got the ball in the fourth quarter, you know, after Jarquez threw the interception, and they just milked 9 minutes off the clock completely. Like
Yeah.
those type of things is just like that shouldn't happen in the Iron Bowl.
Right.
And so to me, that means intensity got to rev up this offseason. You know, mindsets got to rev up, personalities gotta come afloat, comfort zone has got to get out of it. You got to get out your comfort zone. That's everybody, you know,
Right.
and And if you want to get to the next level, it is time to turn up the volume, and it is
Mm,
time to stop being so nice and do what is needed to be done to get this team to the next level. And to me, yes, I know coach is probably upset. And he said it. He said there's a couple calls I wish I had back on the half-yard line, not go so fast, and not have anyone block the defensive end, just
right.
kind of reset. To me, Taylor, when are we going to get under the center on those short yardage situations?
Don't get me started.
Yeah, the center run a quarterback sneak. You
Yep.
can have your running back, Jarquez, push you in the end zone. Um, in that situation, we're down 2 touchdowns. There's no need to call the flea flicker pass because they know we're in a passing situation. And so
Seriously.
everyone is backing up. No one's flying up to stop the run. So even in that situation, I know Jarquez has probably been taught to throw the ball back to the quarterback if everybody's deep. But Taylor, everything's happening fast, right? When you're in that
Yeah.
situation and you're not used to being in it, you're gonna throw that thing like it's a hot potato.
And he did.
And we had momentum at that time. We had
Yep.
momentum driving to score with like 10, 11 minutes to go in the ball game to be down by 7 and put pressure on Alabama, and we gave them a gift with that call. So
Yep.
there's things that everyone wants back in that ball game. There's things that you can learn from that ball game. And if you approach it the right way, you won't lose in the next couple of Iron Bowls if you approach it the right way.
Right. Right. And we knew that was going to start immediately. I mean, you and I talked on the episode last week. It really felt like it needed to have started with the Texas A&M win, and it needed to continue even with potentially only one more game. And it is upsetting to hear that it really didn't have the aura of an Iron Bowl. I've said it so many times, I feel like a broken record. It's not just that you're losing, it's how you're losing. And that's where you get more frustrated. And it all has to change in 2025. I don't think anyone is going to beat around the bush anymore. I don't think anyone is going to really want to hear many excuses anymore. This program needs to win next year. The excitement around the signing class and the recruiting that's been done is absolutely justified. And I am hype about the guys that signed. 25 guys signed to be a part of Auburn. So there is buy-in, and I believe there will be big names in the portal that we'll be hearing about in the coming months. But now, how do you equip them to go win football games? How do you prepare them to be a winning program? That's the next difference that has to be implemented as well. And I think that everyone knows that the time is now and it's kind of all hands on deck. So, like I said, the 4th straight losing season, which hasn't happened in 74 years, the 7th straight loss in Tuscaloosa, not a place that's been favorable. We've got quite the streak going in Athens as well. Like, you need those monumental things that have kind of plagued this program to change very quickly next year.
Yeah, you talk about 2 places that we're used to going in and winning, right? In this rivalry, we're used to winning in Georgia. We're
Yeah.
used to winning in Alabama. And over the last 7 years, it's gone the total opposite direction
Hmm.
to some point where they're not even close in those
Yeah.
games. Where you get to the 4th quarter, it's like, okay, it's anybody's ball game. It's
Right.
like when we get to the 4th quarter, it's like it's not even close.
Hmm.
So we got to find a way to bridge the gap. But when we play these teams at home, it's a totally different game. So
Yeah.
we got to take the same mindset on the road as you have at home in these rivalry games
Yeah.
and everything. That's what makes them rivalry games. But if you're
Hmm.
not winning of late, then it's hard to become, you start to lose the touch of the rivalry. And I
Right.
felt a little bit of that this past weekend. And that's just
Mm.
like we got to pick that back up and uh and start being expected to win some of these games
Yes.
and everything. So I think, like I said, getting the signing class was very important. You kept a lot of the guys that were committed.
Hmm.
Every team probably lost like 2 guys that decommitted and flipped on them at the end. That happens at every school, but for the most part, we signed all the guys that Auburn was thought they would sign, and
Hmm.
these guys gonna be some different makers. Everyone thought that Naheem Osford would flip to Auburn. I think there was a
Hmm.
high percentage chance that he was until Oregon came in the picture and
Yeah.
that Nike money hit different.
Well, and look how Oregon's playing right now.
Right, so the kid ended up going to Oregon and everything, but overall, though, we're still a solid, solid signing class. Think about
Yeah,
a 5 and 7 football team finishes in the top 10 in recruiting,
for sure.
and then last year, 6 and 7 football team finished in top 7 in recruiting.
Hmm.
This year, right now, we're number 6. If things can happen overnight here with 2 more kids to sign, if we get knock on those 2 kids, then we probably move up to 5 or 4.
Yeah.
And that's to be applauded with the record that we have. And
Yeah.
that, but it takes about 3 full years before you see a huge turnaround in a program.
Yeah.
I think next year is where you're supposed to start seeing the turnaround,
Yeah.
right? A lot of folks was kind of scratching their head this year because we thought we'd be better than what we are. And fact is, we probably should have been better than what we are. But next season is supposed to be the year of the turnaround. You start to see the program, okay, shift. So
Yeah.
all of that starts with signal caller, right? So, okay, you sign Deuce Knight, you get the 5-star out of high school. Will
Yep.
he be ready to go year 1 in the SEC? That's a lot to ask, right?
Yeah.
So you think about you got Walker White, who's still here, who redshirted this past year. Supposed to be tired of coming out of high school. Now he has a full year to learn the system. How does
But
this
unproven.
right? Unproven. Okay, now Holden leaves. Thorne retires. I mean, Thorne not retires. Thorne graduates. Uh, so used to guys in the league. Thorne graduates, and then you talk about Hank. Hank said he didn't say he was transferred after rumors said he was transferred. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave that alone until we figure out what's really going to happen there.
Sure.
Because I'm not going to put anything out that I'm not 100% sure on.
Fair.
Next thing is you have to bring in a transfer quarterback.
No questions.
Almost 2, right? So to a fault, to a point to just make sure you have enough on the roster board,
Yep.
and one for QB1, maybe another one just to have enough bodies to make sure that we're in a position for guys to compete
Mm-hmm.
in that room, and because everybody's got to be ready, you just never know.
Yep.
So at that standpoint, so that'll be number 1 on the list is transfer quarterback.
Yes.
All right, number 2 on the list, probably securing a right tackle. Do you move Dylan Wade inside to guard and get a left tackle? You got Connor Lew and Jeremiah Wright, who's resigned to come back already. So you got
Yep.
those 2 guys there. So that's very important. You lock up those guys, and then you bring in an offensive line that looks like Bama, Georgia, A&M.
Yep.
And get back to those days. Defensively, what do you need? Okay, you lose 3 linebackers that are seniors. So,
Yeah.
yes, you got DeMarty Riddick. Yes, you got Malachi that just signed to come in. Yes, you got a couple of guys on the roster that are young pups, but you still need a little bit of some veteran help there, right?
Yes.
So maybe you pick up 2 guys in the port at the linebacker position. Defensive line gonna be loaded with young talent. Do you get 1 veteran guy there? Do you get 1
Probably.
veteran receiver with all the young pups that are superstars? You need 1 veteran, right? Lambert Smith, if it wasn't for him this year coming up clutch,
I'm sad he's leaving.
so you need maybe 1 veteran receiver. So it's not a lot that you need in the portal because this team has recruited really well. You
Right.
need experience in some of the position in the
Yes.
portal until some of your young guys can be developed.
Yes. Like 2 things can be true at the same time. I do agree with, like, Coach Freeze has been very clear about still wanting to put a lot of weight into the high school ranks and to be a program of development. I think we have seen across college football the selling the farm solely for the transfer portal does not always work. Ole Miss. How Ole Miss is potentially going to end up out of the playoff when you go back to last offseason and look at all the guys that Lane Kiffin went and got out of the portal, it is proof that it is not the fixed method. Florida State, I don't even have to go there. We all know what happened there. Ohio State losing to Michigan. Now they're probably still going to end up hosting a playoff. How all of that, we'll get into the playoff situation. But Ohio State got a lot of transfer portal guys. It's not a magic potion. It doesn't fix everything. But in your key areas of weakness and, like you just said, lack of experience, getting the right fit to plug in that is going to assimilate to your development first program, like a Keandre Lambert Smith who just clicked and it worked. I do think that both can be true at the same time. Putting investment into the transfer portal to make sure you're getting the right pieces in key pivotal places that you're lacking, while still putting probably more emphasis on development, recruiting, and building long-term success. We're not just throwing everything at the board because we want to win a championship in 2025. We're trying to do all at the same time so that Auburn is a sustained, successful program. In that vein, I have no idea how these coaching staffs are doing all of this. Like, Absolutely none, especially the ones that are still playing ball right now. This is so much to be doing, and it's why the landscape and the structure around college football is constantly in conversation because it's not doable at this rate right now. But I do think that priority number one, especially now that signing day, like you said, something more could happen through Friday of this week. But for all intents and purposes, signing day is check, and you did what you set out to do. 25 freshmen, including 5-star quarterback Deuce Knight, running back Alvin Henderson, who holds 12 Alabama High School Athletic Association records right now, and with Jarquez heading on, it's great to see another young guy just continuing the lineage of Auburn running backs. So you feel good about that. In the SEC, the way it sits right now, it's Texas, Bama, which is still surprising that they're recruiting at that level. But anyway, Texas, Bama, Georgia, Auburn. That's how the SEC recruiting classes sit right now. So you're sitting there above LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, all of these programs that had such traction this year, and Auburn, like you said, 4 consecutive losing seasons, and guys are still believing that there's something special about to happen here. So you have to be encouraged by that. But I do think that you look at this situation, the second consecutive losing year under Hugh Freeze, some really debilitating losses, not just, oh, we lost, like, no, like gut punches. And you've got to get guys that can plug and play. It can't be the answer to your success, but you won't have success without it.
Yeah, no doubt. Think about it this year. You signed Trill Carter and Gage Keys. Either one of them made huge dividends this year on the defensive front.
Right.
Sometimes it's great to get guys, but then the fit don't fit, right? So
It don't fit.
yeah, so, sometimes it just happens, and you're in that
It's true.
situation. So the portal is good in some ways. Like it can help you maneuver faster,
Sure.
but you still build through your high school program. Now the problem with that is that's if your high school kids are patient enough to stick around nowadays.
So true.
Yeah, you so you sign these guys, but then like I said, the next year they're gone.
Yep.
TJ Lindsay signed him last year out of IMG Academy. He redshirts because there's a lot of guys in front of him. But then now you get him ready to play his redshirt freshman year, he's gone.
Yeah.
Because some kids can't deal with, I'm so used to being patted on the back. I'm so used to being, ready to play and now I'm not used to playing the waiting game.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys are not used to that. And you have to get them to believe, like, hey man, this is for your betterment.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to help you. But then some guys are able to push through it and some aren't. And so you're gonna have some of those. So you always got to try to continue to recruit and try to get to the next level or figure out how to get this football team moving forward.
Yeah.
I tell people, don't get the portal idle. Don't sit there and watch film at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing you need a position. So, found my guy.
Yeah.
Like, no, those sleepy eyes. Like,
Right.
let's watch this thing at 9:30, 10 a.m. in the morning. Make sure we're getting solid guys. And that's why you go
Yeah.
out and you hire people and everything to do those things, because it's too hard for coaches to coach. Watch film, get their guys ready, break down
I can't
transfer,
imagine.
break down the high school guys, figure out NIL. It's too hard. That's why you got everybody working together, having roles to play.
Yeah.
And everything. So it's a lot. It is a lot. When I tell you, it's a lot. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this team is striving and ready for success. This fan base is ready for success. And you see our basketball team, man. Everybody's tuning in last night watching Duke versus Auburn.
Yep.
Like, oh, we had a chance to win that thing, but
I
that guy
know.
hit that 3-pointer with 4 minutes ago, and the ball was all over the court, and we was about to get it down by 2. And once he
Yeah.
made that, I was like, oh, that's it.
I know.
But it shows you that Bruce has built a really good winning program to the
Yeah.
point that we have to respect the people that we win that game. We're ranked number 1,
Yeah.
right? But you have to respect everybody now, like, oh, they're a legit number 2 basketball team.
Oh yeah.
People get to talking about us from football standpoint that you not only win for 1 year, fall off. No, you win consistently for years.
Right.
Everybody say, okay, this is the Auburn we know.
Yeah.
Like, you ain't winning a championship every year, but you're winning, and then
Yes.
you have your championship years. But that's every school, right? But you want to
Yep.
be winning, be in
Yep.
conversation. So It's time for us to get back in conversation.
1,000,000%. And Coach Freeze has been very adamant since taking the job that he thought it would take 3 consecutive top 10 recruiting classes to kind of flip the roster, along with some key transfer portal additions. Well, now it's time that you got to prove that theory, because the recruiting has been there and the talent has come. Now, how do you prepare the talent? How do you ready them for this level of college ball? And I do think that 2025 has to show so much more than 2024 did. Let me ask you this, though, because obviously there is a lot of excitement around getting a 5-star quarterback in Deuce Knight, not just his ability and his ceiling, but in light of how much struggle that position at Auburn has been for several years, the potential that Auburn could have that guy again when it feels like it's been so long. And we're talking about the need to go get a transfer portal quarterback. And there's a lot of big names that are already out there. The portal doesn't officially open until December 9th, but we're already hearing Miller Moss out of USC, Jackson Arnold out of Oklahoma, the backup from Vanderbilt just entered today. There's several big names, and you anticipate more to come. When you look at Deuce Knight and his raw potential, but the reality of the situation, and you think back to your time coming out of high school, highly touted, all the makings, and obviously the success that you had, why weren't you ready as a true freshman? And maybe what could a fan base take from that as to why Deuce Knight, it benefits him for us to go get a transfer portal quarterback and him have a year of learning and development? Why weren't you ready when you were his age?
Well, when I came in, we had a senior, Ben Leard, right? So Ben
Mm-hmm.
Leard was a proven guy. He taught me a lot about the game, and then you don't realize how much you don't know until you're in those rooms.
So true.
You come out of high school, yes, you know a lot more as a senior than you did as a freshman. It's
Yeah.
the same way once you get to college, except for now, this is not you go to JUCO. It's not that you go to a group of 5. Like you go to the Power 4, but then you go to the biggest conference in college.
Yeah.
And it's a different level of speed. It's a different level of physique.
Mm,
You don't realize how much bigger you need to get. Like there are some positions that come in, like Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, as true freshman receivers that you can do that.
sure.
Running backs, true freshman running back can have success.
Sure.
There are true freshman quarterbacks that have success sometimes. It's just not over a long time that you see that often.
And usually not in the SEC.
Right? Usually not in the SEC. So does it happen? It happen, but that's not your norm.
Sure.
And you don't want to put a kid out there too soon to the point that if he goes out there too soon and things don't take off for him, and you hurt his confidence, and sometimes it's hard for guys to get their confidence back.
So true.
Some guys they can build themselves back up and go with the punches and roll with it. But then some guys, if they're not used to it, they can become fragile.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like, what happened to such and such? Well, sometimes it's a confidence thing, right?
Yep.
So you have to be careful how you deal with quarterbacks and you deal with other positions. It's the
Mm,
same way as putting a left tackle true freshman out there. If he starts getting whipped a lot, he's not gonna be confident in blocking,
for sure.
this time. So I think for those things is why, especially in a position like Auburn this year where you have to win, that's a
Mhm.
lot of pressure to put on a freshman quarterback out of high school, even a redshirt freshman quarterback. So
Right.
at the end of the day, you play the best guy, right? Everybody competes. No matter who comes in. Hey, if kid lights it up, he lights it up.
Exactly.
So I can't sit here and say, oh, like I don't know. Like
Right.
okay, like, but I'm just saying from experience though, you would like those guys to learn how to study film, learn how to look at
Yep.
defenses, learn pre-snap progressions, all the different things that go along playing a quarterback position. It's not just, oh, he looks good throwing the football.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than go just throwing the football. Like we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that can throw the football, but who you throwing it to? So,
Yes.
you have to make sure that these kids are able to think and play, and that the game not feel too big for them.
100%. And it's not only just making sure that you fully grasp an offense. What is so evident to me when I'm field level watching these games It's how quickly you got to get to those decisions. And if you don't even have a full understanding of it yet, you can't process, let alone process as quickly as you do. There is a time element that is so beneficial. And I think a lot of these kids are probably not going to want to hear that because they're being told from a bunch of other schools that, oh, you won't have to sit for a day if you come here. But it may actually be in your best interest. And for a guy like you that did have that time, albeit minimal, but still, you did have some time to get acclimated because what no one also talks about anymore is that your entire life changes. You are on your own for the first time. You're not going home to mom and dad. Mom's not doing your laundry anymore. Now, obviously, you have a lot of perks as a collegiate athlete, a D1 football player. You've got a nutritionist that's going to help get your diet right. But your strength and conditioning is going to be the hardest you've ever worked in your life. You've got a whole new team that you're trying to build chemistry with, as opposed to when you're in high school and you're with these guys literally every day, all day in high school settings. So there's so many nuances in the transition from high school to college. And for sure at the quarterback position and all the responsibility that is put on the shoulders of that person, I see such benefit in him having ample time to get his footing because I do think that this kid's ceiling is very high and you want to give him the best chance to reach it. So the transfer portal is going to have the attention of this coaching staff. As far as what to look for in a transfer portal quarterback, though, Jay, knowing what you know about this offense, what skill set needs to jump off the page for a transfer portal quarterback to be the right fit at Auburn?
Number one is arm strength, right? How
Okay.
many times do we not be able to hit the long, deep balls,
Dear Lord.
you know, everything like consistently?
Yeah.
So arm strength, being able to fit the ball in tight windows.
Okay.
The next thing is dual threat. You gotta be able to run the RPO game. You
For
you
sure.
gotta know when to hand the ball off, understand certain downs and situations, when to pull it, when to just let the running back have it. But then the other aspect of it is, knowing when to run yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be athletic enough to keep this offense on schedule. And then the other thing is to galvanize the football team.
Mm.
Like leadership is so important, and
Yeah.
being able to galvanize the team and know when to take your chances, but understand when the game's on the line, when they say this is not the time to take your chance. It's the time to make sure that we have the lead. Let's protect it.
Mm.
Those type of things. So decision making to me is one. Arm strength is two because we have talent at receivers,
Sure.
and it was just and then being able to run the RPO system is very key because that's what a lot of teams do.
Yep.
But I just say experience is your best teacher.
Mm.
So you have to find someone that's kind of had some experience, been through some things, come out on the other side of it.
Yeah.
But you also gotta, big names. Everybody say, "Oh yeah, that guy. I know that guy. That guy. Let's get that guy." Type
Yeah.
of stuff. You know, you never know. Big names may not fit your system.
Right.
So
Or
you got
your culture.
your culture. You have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But your job is to be able to find people that fit what you do, but someone that can do it well. And that's why you hire the people that we hire to go out
Yeah.
and find gems. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
people be like, this kid is really good. You change his situation, this kid is gonna be
Yeah.
Dave O'Brien type of quarterback, maybe on a Heisman list or something. He's that type of player.
Yeah.
So there are those guys out there. Look at Pavia. He wasn't a Heisman or whatever,
How
but look how
about
he
that?
changed Vanderbilt's program.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How many power fours were jumping at Pavia last year? Not a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I'm just saying, like those type of things. So you have to be very, very careful and everything and how you do these things. So uh there are going to be some really good guys to go and get. Like I said, there's uh then there are some guys that people gonna float their names out there just to try to make their institution pay them more money.
Yep.
And so that's that game too. You have to be careful that you don't get caught into that
It's
until the point you miss
crazy.
out on real opportunities. So
Right.
you have to be smart about how you possess this whole thing.
That's such a weird world that we're all living in.
Like I said, a lot's about to change. This year's gonna be the first playoff games where home people get to host home games in the
Yep.
playoffs. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks of seeing how this whole system plays out. And then things are gonna change, right? NIL is gonna
Have
be around
to.
till June, and then all of a sudden revenue sharing supposed to kick in. Now
Well,
here comes a who nest, and here comes another set of rules and guidelines. So when is this thing gonna ever get to a place where it becomes complacent and stick?
no idea.
Everything's changing so much. So Taylor, this week Texas and Georgia, the SEC championship game. Who do you have?
Yep. Let's get into all of the conference championships as well as the playoff ranking because there has been controversy every week that the ranking has been announced, and this week is no different. Chairman Ward Manuel also saying that any teams that are not playing this upcoming weekend, their ranking is essentially all but set, which has ruffled a lot of feathers. And it gets into the debate of conference championships and their impact on the college football playoff. It's just not a foolproof system. But as it sits right now, Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame at 4, Georgia at 5, Ohio State fell to 6 after losing to Michigan. Crazy. Tennessee at 7, SMU at 8, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama at 11, followed by Miami at 12. Miami falling to Syracuse. A win would have sent them into the ACC championship game. A loss sends Clemson to the ACC championship game, even though Clemson fell to South Carolina, who is arguably playing some of the best ball in the country right now. But the way that they match up to Ole Miss and Alabama, all sitting at 9-3, and having lost to both Ole Miss and Alabama, ultimately had South Carolina too far down. Ole Miss, South Carolina, Arizona State, and Iowa State are the first 4 out. Now, Arizona State and Iowa State will be playing for the Big 12 championship, which is number 15 and 16 playing for a championship. It's really, the Big 12 kind of imploded on itself. Georgia, Texas being the SEC championship after Texas beat Texas A&M in Kyle Field. Texas A&M really kind of lost steam down the end of season. Man, I'm really torn in this one. Obviously, Georgia got the first go round. I think that Texas has not been tested the same way. Their best win outside before Texas A&M was Vanderbilt. They have the 30-something strength of schedule in the country. The easiest strength of schedule in the SEC. So quite the intro to the conference to get the easiest schedule imaginable. You avoided all of the top dogs, but other than Georgia, who beat the brakes off of you. So I'm not entirely sure we've gotten a fair gauge of Texas. I want to go for Georgia just out of the principle that I don't want Texas winning in year 1 of the SEC. It shouldn't be a cakewalk.
Well, I think Georgia gets the extra day to prepare.
Also true, because they played on
Texas had to play
Friday.
that Saturday. Georgia played Friday. Georgia almost lost to a really good Georgia Tech team, so they've been battle tested as well. But they also get a chance to get some people back healthy.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to beat a team twice, but since they played so long ago, it feels like I think it really opens the door for Georgia to go in there and win this game. But
True.
it's just hard. Sarkisian with his offense and everything. The first reason Georgia won that game in Austin was because their D line got after them. They didn't have a chance to exploit the secondary. Now, if their D line is not able to get to Ewers, then it's going to be a long day. But if they're able to get to Ewers and be able to run the football, and Carson Beck is not turning the football over, then Georgia can win this game. They have the most experience in this game. But like I said, Texas had the easiest road to the ball game out of all the SEC schools. Now, that's not to take anything away from them. But at the end of the day, though, they will have to beat a really good Georgia team in Atlanta.
Let's talk about the ACC because this one really feels kind of strange with Clemson ending up in because Miami couldn't get it done. I think if SMU loses in the ACC championship, they should still be in.
All right.
I think, personally. They're sitting at 8. Obviously, if Clemson loses, they're out. And I think that's how it should be. So either way, SMU is sitting pretty. Either way, Penn State is sitting pretty. They will play Oregon in the Big Ten championship.
Oregon wins that game.
Agreed.
And then SMU, I think, wins their conference, ACC.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And it will be real salty for South Carolina if Clemson ends up in the playoff and they beat them in the final road game, you know?
It's that whole landscape thing. It's really, really hard to figure out who's supposed to be in the top 12. But it's hard not to put conference champions in there. That's the whole reason why you play. So I just feel like, teams need to be forced to play either tougher schedules
Yeah.
because I'm with it. I've heard, I think it might have been Coach Beamer or somebody said,
Oh,
"What's the
yeah.
purpose of playing a tough schedule if it's gonna bite you in the butt?"
Exactly.
So I think ADs are gonna start looking at this. I think SEC is
Yeah.
probably gonna go to a 9-game SEC schedule.
Dang.
Um, I think more conferences are gonna go to 9-game conference schedules,
Yeah.
and everything, but it's true though. Like, you get punished for playing a tough schedule. Like,
Yep.
Mississippi State had no chance this year. They had the toughest schedule in the US. You know,
With
like
probably the least to work
right,
with, a brand new
right.
head coach.
Yeah, like, that's brutal. So, they
Yeah.
had no chance from the get-go. So,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. This thing is about to get interesting here, but, I can't wait.
Same. I still am like so excited. Whatever the matchups are, like I saw a mock write up or whatever, like Bama going to South Bend and playing Notre Dame, and like some of these like cross matchups of very renowned programs. And regardless of the controversy that has ensued with the rankings this year, I
Notre
do think
Dame
we're going
need
to get some great games.
Notre Dame needs a tougher schedule. Like, you play A&M, okay, but
Week
you need a
one,
tough right, week 1, you need a tougher schedule. Yeah, it's time
agreed.
for them to stop getting automatic bids to get
Yes.
gains. It's not fair. It's not fair.
No,
They don't play a tough schedule. If you're gonna be independent like that, you should play at least, 3, 4 teams in the top 25.
I would agree. I would
Like,
agree.
at least.
And not out of the American. Like, no
Right,
disrespect to Navy and
right,
Army, but
right,
it's apples and oranges because you are
right, come
still
on.
recruiting Power 4 caliber athletes and then not having to play a Power 4 schedule.
I know it's not their fault USC and Florida State wasn't good this year. Typically,
True.
they're pretty good teams, but
True.
you need to play at least a Michigan or an Ohio State
Yeah.
somewhere up that way. Like,
Yeah.
you're getting free rides.
Agreed. Agreed. But the proof will be in the pudding in that one because you're not
Right.
going to be able to avoid that kind of competition in the playoffs. So, but yeah, I mean, the conversation will continue to arise if the playoffs should be expanded. There's already talk about them doing that in 2026. It's going to be like March Madness. We're going to have 64 teams to play, and the entire season's just going to be a playoff. But
Yep.
anyway, plenty excitement to come. Basketball season underway. I saw that Auburn hired a new soccer coach today. Gymnastics season will begin in January. So a lot of good ahead. We do have a little bit of housekeeping news that we will go ahead and let you guys in on. We are going to be taking a little bit of a break from the show. You can call it a hiatus if you would like. With the end of the year and some great things that have been added to Jason and my professional plates, our schedules are so insane, along with holidays and what have you. And we've been doing this consistently for several years and never really taken a specified hiatus. So we feel like now is a good time to do that as Auburn kind of resets. So are we. We're going to do a little reevaluation of the show, the platform, the format, and give us some time to really kind of think about the growth potential of it and what makes the most sense moving forward. So, with that said, I would encourage everyone to make sure you are following both of us on social media, because if and when we come to any changes or decisions or updates on the show, that is where we will post our updates. I am at Taylor Beth Davis. He is at, your Twitter and your Instagram are different. You really should make them the same, but which one?
Right, exactly. J Campbell 17
Jake
on
Campbell.
Instagram and JCam_17 on Twitter.
Okay. So follow us there so that you can get updates, and just know that we are pursuing other options and just making sure that we are doing what makes the most sense for both of us as we continue to pour into our multiple avenues of career that we are both feel very, very lucky to be in and want to continue to see that grow.
All right, guys. Yep, like Taylor said, hey, we appreciate all the support. Like I said, we will be doing something.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we're back here in a couple of months. We expect to see you, bring a friend, continue to grow the show. But
Yeah.
spring is coming up. A lot of things got to be happening between now and spring. So continue to support us. Follow our social medias. Like I said, we'll be in touch. And war Eagle.
With that, we hope everyone enjoys the playoff. Have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we love you guys. War Damn Eagle.